Hi, everybody. It's Mark Phillips with Aftermarket Intel, and I just wanted to take some time today to discuss the coronavirus pandemic and the automotive aftermarket. There are some things occurring that may set up the automotive aftermarket for good fortune at the conclusion or the general gradual rollout or reopening, rather, of the United States and other countries around the world, their economies. What the automotive aftermarket has going in its favor, if anything, right now, besides its ingenuity and the people working for it, is timing. Um, Automotive plants around the world have been stalled, they've been idled, their employees have been furloughed. That won't last forever, and some plants, in fact, are coming gradually, slowly online. But these types of measures aren't anything that can be instantly turned on a dime. For example, Ford idling a lot of their North American plants. You can't just restart production tomorrow if you make the decision today. And why that the reason this is important is that the automotive aftermarket, as we all know, when new cars aren't being bought and people hold on to their cars longer, there are more repair opportunities available. Having said that, these are not normal times because while people aren't going out there buying new cars because they're concerned about their jobs, they may have lost their jobs, they may be waiting for unemployment insurance checks, what have you, or the relief package checks. If they're not buying cars, they're not necessarily driving the ones that they do have. And so that is the strange wrinkle in all of this. But that, yes, at the same time that people aren't buying new cars, they're really not going out and driving their old cars because they're not going to work. They may be working from home. They may have been laid off. They may have stay-at-home orders that don't enable them to just get in their car and drive wherever they want. So these are truly interesting and sad and confusing times. But having said all of that, on the other side of this, there will be some bright spots. But the problem is we don't know when those things are going to come, when those bright spots are going to show themselves. For example, in Germany, all mass population events, or large events rather, I'm trying to say, large events have been banned until August the 31st. Now, that doesn't mean that the country of Germany is completely closed up for business. In fact, the country of Germany has done well early on in identifying the virus, testing people very often, and containing it. They've done a very good job. Even so, they've decided to ban large events through August the 31st. Now, if we think about that, I'm in the state of Ohio. We have tentatively, our governor tentatively identified May 1st as a potential date for reopening. Now, as the number of deaths have gone up, the number of cases has gone up, even though they think we may have plateaued, there's a belief that on the other side of the plateau is a slow, gradual coming down from all of this. So while we rose very quickly up to the top, the apex of all of these cases, there's a belief that that longer slope downwards on the backside of this thing will last a lot longer. Now, why is this important? It's important because cars, vehicles, SUVs, what have you, they will continue to sit. And we all know what happens when a vehicle sits. It dies. Vehicles are living, gasoline engine vehicles and other types of vehicles are living, breathing things. If the battery is not recharged constantly by the alternator, it's bad. If it sits unused, it's bad. The brakes can degrade. Brakes can kind of weld themselves onto the rotors. You've seen it before. If you have gone out to Apex for a week and you've parked in an area which is humid or a lot of wetness in the air, dampness, what have you, and you start off, your brakes stick for a second. Those things coupled with fluids break down. Fluids aren't, you put gasoline in a 5-gallon can, it's not going to stay great for 10 years. It's an organic compound mixture, and it begins to degrade in a matter of time. Oils, your seals, your hoses, your belts, your timing belts, everything begins to die. And if not die, their effectiveness is becoming degraded. Why is that important? Well, we're going to have a host of vehicles on the other side of this when people can emerge from their homes and they do have the financial wherewithal to do it, to get repairs, to get them done. They will need to be done. So I guess the point of all of this is that it's difficult to say, but on the flip side of this, there's going to be a lot of pent up repair demand. We always talk about pent up repair demand in the automotive aftermarket. We always say that there are billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of repairs that are left undone. This has never been more true than now. You will have vehicles that were perfectly good before the pandemic, and they may not have been driven for 3 months. There are going to be issues. You may have animals chewing on cables, squirrels, all other critters nest inside of the hood of a vehicle. And oftentimes you can find a family of these little people, not people, but little animals in there. Um, and it's a surprise to the car owner. And how did this happen? And I thought I did smell something funny when I was driving the vehicle. Repair shops have stories that are endless about those kinds of things. It's not just sitting in the battery degrading. It may be that a squirrel chewed through some wires and cables and hoses. They love all kinds of weird things that you would never think. That is just one of the other issues of this. So you're going to have a car park in the United States and elsewhere around the world that has been challenged, and it's been challenged by something that's never really happened before. I don't recall in modern history a time where most vehicular traffic, with the exception of essential employees and emergency response vehicles and police cars and things like that, with the exception of those, everything else just stops. Everything else just sitting in driveways and dying. That's not happened that I recall. What what is important to know is that this will come to an end. We may have rolling uh, uh, shutdowns and reopenings over the next 18 months, like they're talking. For most of us, we have been into this for a month. So imagine 17 more months of this. It's anybody's guess what's going to happen, but this much is true. What we do know about science and vehicles is that the longer that they sit, the worse things become for them. On the other side of this, we're going to have pent up demand for repair. It's anybody's guess when that's going to be. The important thing is we're going to probably need to be thinking about the parts of the vehicle that may be affected. You may not have many belts and hoses in stock, or especially hoses, seals, um, gasketing. You're gonna need the aftermarket is gonna need those in large supply, I predict, because if you just look at a vehicle, what's going to happen to it as it sits? You're going to need those replacement components in larger quantities than you may have needed them before. That's my prediction. Unless people are secretly driving their cars every day and keeping them topped off on the battery and keeping fluids going from them, um, and unless that's happening. But I'm just not seeing it. I just went over a video of several states worth of traffic cams, and there's no cars on the road. There's no cars on the road. It is, I checked at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in Ohio. I checked at 7:30 Pacific Time in Los Angeles around the same time. There were no vehicles on the roads. That means, in large part, people are adhering to the shutdowns, and vehicles are going to be sitting, they're going to be dying, and there's going to be work to be done. When that is anyone's guess. Anyway, just some thoughts to consider. I'm Mark Phillips, and thanks for watching.